So here's a question for you. How do we really understand ourselves, our place in the world? Is it always about looking inward, digging deep inside?
Or could it be something else?
Right, exactly. Could real insights, maybe profound ones, come from looking outward, at, like our connections with other people?
That's really the core of what we're diving into today.
Yeah, today we're doing a deep dive into something called Naikan Therapy. It's a Japanese practice, quite quiet, quite powerful.
And really different from a lot of Western ways of thinking about self-help or therapy.
Totally. Its whole premise is unique.
Yeah.
It gets you to look at your life through, well, three specific things. What you receive from others, what you give back to them.
And this is the tough one for many.
Yeah, the troubles you've caused them. It's quite a perspective shift.
It really is.
So our mission here is to give you a shortcut, basically. To understand Naikan's principles, where it came from its Buddhist roots, are fascinating how the method actually works.
It's structured but very personal.
And where it's being used. Its impact is surprisingly wide across different settings globally.
Yeah, it pops up in some unexpected places.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Right. So Naikan, the name literally means something like looking inside or introspection.
Okay.
But the way it does that is kind of counterintuitive sometimes. It was developed by Ishin Yoshimoto around the 1940s.
You mentioned Buddhist roots.
Deeply. Specifically, Judo Shinshu Buddhism. What's really interesting is where it evolved from.
Oh.
It grew out of a much, much more austere, really intense meditation practice called Mishirabe.
Mishirabe. What did that involve? Sounds serious.
It was. Think like extreme sensory deprivation, really difficult self-reflection, aiming for spiritual insight through pretty harsh discipline.
Wow. Okay, so Yoshimoto, who was he?
Yeah.
A monk.
Actually, a devout Shin Buddhist, yes, but also a businessman. And he took this incredibly severe, almost punishing practice.
And somehow made it accessible.
Exactly. He transformed it, made it gentler, more widely usable. And crucially, he saw its potential beyond just, spiritual enlightenment.
What sort of things?
For things like mental health, rehabilitation, even moral education, he really broadened its application.
Interesting. So who did he first try this adapted version with? Who was the target audience initially?
Yeah. Well, his first applications were pretty specific. He focused on juvenile delinquents and prisoners.
Really? Prisons.
Yes, and apparently it was incredibly effective there. It helped individuals really reevaluate their past actions, their impact on others, on their relationships.
That makes sense, given the questions it asks.
Right. And from those very specific beginnings, it gradually spread to hospitals, schools, even corporations, personal development.
So not just in Japan.
No, it went global,
Yeah.
which is quite a journey, isn't it? From a Japanese prison setting to, say, a therapy office in Europe or the U.S.
It really is quite a leap. That adaptability says a lot. Now, you mentioned its core revolves around these deceptively simple questions. Can you walk us through those?
Sure. So the core Naikan introspection focuses on three key questions, and you always direct them towards a specific person in your life. Could be a parent, partner, friend, anyone.
Okay, specific person. Got it. What's the first question?
The first one is, what have I received from this person?
What have I received? That immediately makes you think differently, doesn't it?
It does. It shifts your focus right away. It kind of forces you to cultivate gratitude, to really see all the ways, big and small, often overlooked, that others have supported you, given to you.
Yeah, because often we tend to focus on what we didn't get, right? What was missing or what we felt we lacked.
Exactly. This flips that script. So after acknowledging what you've received, what's next?
What's the second question?
The second is, what have I given to this person?
Ah, okay. So it's about balance.
Right. It encourages a sense of, responsibility, mutual care, looking at your own contributions, not just being a passive receiver.
Makes sense. Receiving, giving. That's the third one. You said it was challenging.
It often is, yes. The third question is, what troubles or difficulties have I caused this person?
Oof. Yeah, I can see why that's tough.
It promotes humility, empathy, really taking accountability for your own actions and their impact, instead of, the usual tendency to blame others or circumstances.
It's really striking thinking about it. Naikan doesn't seem to ask the question most of us might lead with, which is, what has this person done to me? Or what grievances do I have?
Right. And that omission is absolutely critical. It's not an oversight. It's deliberate.
What's the thinking there?
By deliberately not focusing on what others have done to you, Naikan steers you away from self-pity, from feeling like a victim.
Wow, okay.
It forces your attention onto their sacrifices, their contributions to you, and then your own impact on them. It fundamentally shifts the locus of responsibility back to you.
But does it feel like blame or guilt?
Not necessarily. The aim isn't shame, it's insight. It's done in a non-judgmental way, ideally with a guide, to encourage understanding, not self-flagellation.
Okay, let's try and make that more concrete. The sources had a good example, reflecting on one's mother.
Yes, that's a classic one.
So for what did I receive? You might think, I don't know. She cooked for me every single day. She taught me how to talk, comforted me when I cried, always had food ready after school. Just endless things, right?
Exactly. Things you take for granted.
Then for what did I give? Maybe it's, I rarely helped with chores, didn't say thank you very often, argued about silly things.
Yeah, often the giving list feels shorter or less significant when you're being really honest.
And then what trouble did I cause? Maybe it's broke her favorite vase, skipped school, which must have worried her sick, stayed out late without calling.
Little things, big things. It all adds up.
And the idea is that going through this, honestly, it does make you feel crushed by guilt, but what's the breakthrough?
Often, it leads to this profound recognition of just how much support you've had, how interconnected you are. It's less about blame and more about seeing the reality of the relationship, the unseen efforts. It often leads to emotional breakthroughs. Yeah.
So what's the overall psychological effect? You mentioned interconnectedness.
Well, it consistently seems to reduce egocentrism because you're deliberately decentering yourself, right?
Yeah.
You're focusing on the other person and the relationship dynamic.
Makes sense. Less me.
Exactly. And it builds authentic gratitude, not just saying thanks, but feeling it. And emotional resilience, too, because you're shifting from what you lacked to what you had, what you were given.
And the third question, about causing trouble.
That powerfully encourages moral reflection. And often, forgiveness may be forgiving yourself or understanding why others acted as they did. It helps you see your own patterns of behavior and how they ripple outwards.
It really does sound like such a contrast to a lot of Western therapy approaches.
It can be, yeah.
Which often seem to focus on, venting, catharsis, analyzing your trauma in detail, expressing your pain.
Right. Naikan is much more about quiet internal observation, a recalibration, as you said.
So what if someone does come to Naikan with significant trauma, with real grievances about how others treated them? How does this process work if it doesn't directly ask what was done to you?
That's a really important question. It doesn't ignore the pain, but it approaches it differently. Western therapy might prioritize diagnosing the trauma, exploring it directly, seeking catharsis through expression. Naikan offers this relationship-based path.
How so?
Think about something like CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. That works a lot with your thoughts and behaviors now, right? Modifying them. Naikan works by meticulously examining memory and relationships to build emotional awareness and shift perspective. Even mindfulness, which is about present moment awareness, differs because Naikan deliberately focuses on the past, but through this specific lens of gratitude for what was received and accountability for your own actions. It's about reframing the impact by focusing on your agency and the gifts, even amidst hardship.
Okay, so it's not denying difficulty, but changing the frame you view it through.
Precisely. And often, the intensive practice involves a week-long retreat.
A week?
Yes.
Doing just this?
Yes. Often 8 to 10 hours a day of silent introspection, focusing on different people in your life, guided by these 3 questions, with brief, regular check-ins with a guide, a mensetsusha.
Wow, 8 to 10 hours a day. That sounds incredibly intense. What's that experience typically like for people? Is it just overwhelming?
It certainly is intense. And yes, people often report initial difficulty, maybe resistance, discomfort, looking at the 3rd question especially.
Imagine.
But the structure, the silence, the non-judgmental presence of the guide, it helps. And as people persevere, something tends to shift.
Yeah, shift how?
Many describe a profound sense of relief washing over them, a deeply felt gratitude, maybe for the first time, for all that unseen support, and often a genuine desire to act differently going forward, to mend relationships, perhaps?
This was not about being crushed by guilt, but more like a quiet realization.
Exactly. A quiet, profound realization that leads naturally towards reconciliation, connection, maybe making amends.
That sounds like a powerful transformation.
Yeah.
And you mentioned its global reach earlier. Outside Japan, where has it really taken root?
It's found a place in quite a few areas. Correctional institutions, like we mentioned, for rehabilitation. It gives prisoners a different framework for looking at their lives and actions.
Okay, well.
Addiction treatment centers use it, general counseling and psychotherapy settings too, especially where there's an appreciation for its focus on relationships and reflection.
Anywhere else surprising?
Interestingly, yeah. In Japan, it's even been used in some leadership training programs and corporate ethics initiatives.
Really? Ethics based on gratitude and causing trouble?
In a way, yes. It underscores its versatility, right? But all these applications, they reinforce that core idea. That Naikan really embodies this Buddhist insight that the self isn't some isolated island. It fundamentally rises through and in relationship with others. We are deeply interconnected.
So, if I'm getting this right, it's less about trying to fix something broken inside a person.
Yes.
And more about waking them up to the reality that's already around them, the web of connections.
That's a great way to put it, precisely. The ultimate goal isn't fixing in the usual sense. It's awakening you to the support, the kindness, the love, often unnoticed, that you've received. It helps people re-enter their lives, maybe, with a renewed sense of humility, genuine care for others, and this deep understanding of their interconnectedness.
That feels really fundamental.
It is, and this is where Naikan offers something profound. By deliberately shifting your focus away from self-pity, away from grievances, and onto what you've received and how you've impacted others. It doesn't just make you grateful, it seems to fundamentally rewire your perspective. It cultivates this deep, almost instinctive humility and resilience.
Which feels pretty needed in our often very self-focused world.
Absolutely.
Wow. Okay, this deep dive into Naikan therapy, it's really opened up a different way of thinking, a powerful, almost counterintuitive path, looking inward by paradoxically focusing outward.
Yeah, that shift from just analyzing the self to really understanding relationship dynamics through those three questions.
Receiving, giving, causing trouble.
It really does seem to foster gratitude, responsibility, and humility in a way that's both, gentle and yet potentially transformative.
And it highlights that this Japanese practice offers a really potent alternative, doesn't it?
It really does. It teaches that healing, that insight. It might not always start with asking, what did I lack? Or what went wrong for me? But maybe by profoundly realizing what you were given. And then thinking, okay, how do I respond to that? How do I live with that awareness? It redefines self-understanding through the lens of connection.
So what does this all mean for you, listening right now? Maybe take a moment. Consider how just acknowledging the often unseen support, the kindnesses, the connections in your own life, big things, small things, how might that reshape how you see yourself and your place in the grand scheme of things?
And could that awareness maybe spark some new actions, new perspectives as you go about your day?
Something to think about.
Yeah.
A different way to look inside, perhaps, by looking out.